The calendar still marks the day you told me you would leave. I circle it in red each year, a ritual of grief. The snow came early that November, froze the garden hose. I watched you pull away and counted every step the car door chose.
You didn't wave, you didn't turn, you just became a dot, a punctuation mark at the end of a sentence I forgot to finish writing, left it hanging like a cliffhanger's wire. You drove off with the better half of everything we built from fire.
And now the nights are just a basement where the echoes go to die. I pour a glass of whiskey and I drink it to the lie that somewhere there's a version where you stayed and held my hand, where the soil of us was fertile and not this empty bitter sand. But the truth is just a window with a crack across the glass. You can still see the garden, but you can't get to the grass. So I'll stand here in the kitchen with the faucet dripping slow, and I'll memorize the sound of you deciding not to grow. Your books are still on the third shelf, the poetry of dead men. I tried to read one last December, got to page 9, and then I saw your underlining the little stars you drew in pen, a heart beside a line that read, "We will not be loved again."
And I believed you, I still do, because the ones who love us true are not the ones who underline, they're the ones who bind us to the ordinary terror of a Tuesday afternoon, not the grand dramatic exits performed underneath the moon.
I saw you at the grocery store, you looked right through my face, as if I were a shelf of cans, a stain upon the place. You pushed your cart around me like a figure made of smoke, and I just stood there holding milk, a parody of folk.
Who don't collapse in public, who don't scream out your name, who don't turn into salt the way the Bible says they came, to be a warning for the ones who dare to look behind. But I looked back and I looked back and I lost my peace of mind.
And now the nights are just a basement where the echoes go to die. I pour a glass of whiskey and I drink it to the lie that somewhere there's a version where you stayed and held my hand, where the soil of us was fertile and not this empty bitter sand. But the truth is just a window with a crack across the glass. You can still see the garden, but you can't get to the grass. So I'll stand here in the kitchen with the faucet dripping slow, and I'll memorize the sound of you deciding not to grow. I wrote a letter to your mother, sealed it with the wax of every candle that we lit on, every birthday, every tax return we filed together, every argument about the dishes and the thermostat and letting the doubt creep in like winter through the weather, stripping of the door. She wrote me back a single line, "I don't know you anymore, and I don't know me either." That's the terror and the price of loving someone till they're gone. You lose your own disguise.
The therapist said, name the feeling, and I drew a blank so long. The clock on her wall ticked a judgment, a metronome of wrong. I said it feels like standing in a room where every light just went, and someone's calling out for you, but you forgot what language meant.
She nodded like an owl who has heard 1,000 mice confess their fear of open fields, their fear of the precise moment when the talons close, the moment when the air becomes a tunnel of regret, the moment of the snare.
I quit my job last April, the one you said I never should. The corner office with a view of all the things I never could accomplish in your absence. Because what's the point of glass if there's no one to press their forehead to it, watching the cars pass?
What's the point of raises and the bonuses and praise if I come home to a microwave that only knows how to blaze a single dinner for a single mouth, a single fork, a single light that flickers like a heart that forgot how to burn bright? And now the nights are just a basement where the echoes go to die. I pour a glass of whiskey and I drink it to the lie that somewhere there's a version where you stayed and held my hand, where the soil of us was fertile and not this empty bitter sand. But the truth is just a window with a crack across the glass. You can still see the garden, but you can't get to the grass. So I'll stand here in the kitchen with a faucet dripping slow, and I'll memorize the sound of you deciding not to grow. The friends we shared have chosen sides, a quiet civil war. They send me Christmas cards that feel like pity from the core of people who have not been gutted by a love that walked away. They say you'll find another, as if grief were just a delay in a train schedule, as if the heart were just a commuter rail that pulls into the station, drops a passenger in without fail, continues to the next stop, but my rails have been removed, and the station is a ghost town, and the ticket booth is proved.
I tried to plant a garden where you